Today's episode of Accessibility is going to be a little bit more personal than usual, as I want to take some time to talk about the process of creating this show and about content creation as a disabled creator more broadly. I've been publishing weekly episodes of Accessibility for around 3.5 years now, and during that time I've done my best not to miss any upload dates. I took a holiday in 2022 with a friend, and sometimes I take a little bit of time off from uploading over December during the holidays, and I've missed a few episodes due to travel and illness, but I've largely done my best to try and make uploads here consistent for this show. I am a disabled content creator, and I have a difficult relationship with making regularly scheduled content, particularly when it comes to video content where I intend to appear on screen. On the one hand, I'm autistic. I love routine and structure, and once a routine is established, I struggle to deviate from it. That is honestly the only reason this weekly show gets made with the regularity that it does. I have that much working in my favour. The fact that my brain craves the creation and maintenance of routines, as much as it recoils at breaking routine once established. This show was originally conceived to feature me, on camera, in front of a green screen during every episode. This was a foundational part of the show's concept, and, as such, for a while at the start, if I didn't feel up to being on camera on a Monday morning, I would skip recording entirely. It felt preferable to skip recording entirely rather than do the recording wrong in a way that broke the routine of how I do recordings. Some days I'm too tired to make myself presentable. Some days my sensory issues are too intense for me to fix up my appearance. Some days I just hate how I look. Some days I don't have it in me to overcome the hurdles needed to fix my appearance to a level where my gender won't be invalidated. I've gotten better in this regard. Sometimes I record using a cartoon version of myself that can be on screen in my stead. Some weeks I simply skip having myself on screen at all. That took work, but it's manageable. In contrast, I have ADHD. My brain craves novelty and change above almost all else, and that has been a hallmark of my creative routine for as long as I've been making things online. There's a reason that I do as many simultaneous projects as I do. I create this show, I publish a weekly gaming review podcast, I'm part of an actual play tabletop RPG show, I write books about LGBT joy and about evil video game executives, I do consultant work, mock reviews, and a bunch of other scattered projects. My brain struggles to stick with one project and feel suitably rewarded. It craves novelty to the detriment of producing one single piece of content regularly. My passion and drive is persistent, but my passion and drive for specific projects goes in and out like the tide. The fact that Accessibility is still going as a series, despite that, is a positive surprise to me. It helps that I'm now medicated for my ADHD. I have some degree of control over my attention-starved mind, but still, it makes creating a show like this regularly a challenge. The thing is, having my ADHD medicated isn't a reliable or predictable fix. Some days the meds don't work as well as they should. Some days the meds work, but I fail to properly target that focus and get stuck on the wrong project, focused but unable to task switch. I'm actively learning to wield newly acquired focus in real time, and that process isn't always easy. Autism and ADHD are often contradictory conditions to live with, and trying to tame one can make the other rise up in response. It's great being more able to control my focus and start work on tasks without the cortisol-fueled anxiety of an impending submission deadline, but if the thing that newly acquired focus lasers in on is the sound of a dog barking halfway down the street, a bark that most could ignore, but my lack of sensory filtering processes at the same intensity as my podcast co-host I'm trying to talk to, patching one leak has basically just caused another to spring up. I also struggle with a degree of chronic fatigue. I pushed myself into an incredibly socially draining career, where I have to socialise with people multiple times a week, and that takes a drain on me. I'm an autistic person who has to be energetic and in the mood for an extended social interaction multiple times per week for work. This drains me more than it would most people, and I take longer to bounce back. This gets exacerbated when I need to travel for work, creating my own travel plans and meeting new people in large numbers in person. Returning from that and hitting the ground running making more content isn't easy. I sometimes need time to rest, but the algorithm doesn't reward sporadic content with visibility. I am a disabled content creator, And sometimes I have to remind myself of that. From recording sessions where the sound of a car 2 streets over is all I can focus on, to days where my hands won't type words with any degree of reliability, to days where I have to describe an idea to an artist and realise that I don't know how to begin without the ability to form a mental image, to days where my hearing quality has fluctuated enough to be a one-sided fixation, I need to acknowledge that I have a cocktail of disabilities and they impact my ability to create in the ways that I want to. I have experienced burnout as a creator several times in my career, most of which, in retrospect, were connected to one of my disabilities or another. Accessibility as a show wouldn't exist if not for one of these periods of burnout, in which I took a few months away from most of my core content and tried to think about areas of creation where I could be passionate about my art while being open about myself and my own creative limitations and struggles. Every week, I sit down on a Monday morning to write and record an episode of this show. I try to pre-prepare topics and start writing scripts in advance, with some being written over the course of weeks in the background, but I need a firm weekly routine to make this show work. I sit down at the same time once per week and make sure an episode is produced before anything else. It's my first task of the work week, the project that gets done when I'm most able to wrangle my psyche. Accessibility is a weekly show, but I don't want to feel like a failure if I sometimes have to skip a week. I want to be able to break that routine when I need to, but I fear that if I permit myself those breaks, the routine will cease to be a routine, and the ADHD will trump the autism. And this show will end up like so many other projects of mine that the search for creative novelty replaced. I am a disabled content creator, and the fact I've made this many episodes of a single show is, for me, a minor miracle. I hope you'll understand if sometimes I miss an upload, even if the algorithm won't. Thank you so much to this month's Patreon backers who help make this show possible. You can support the show and everything I do at patreon.com/LauraKBuzz.